Space Force, the
I am
final
finally
military.
here on the series.
Oh God! Hey, you bombing my introduction, sir? God damn it! Oh, God. Anyway, so Space Force, the final military branch. These are the voyages of the USS Kofefe, led by Captain Donald J. Trump. Hello, everybody. It is the Dark Conservatarian, and I am here with the incredible Aspie, some loudmouth on the internet with an opinion, the one and only S-Man Speaks, Sir Conservatarian, and we are going to be talking about the Space Force, as Trump had just announced very recently, talking about the pros and cons, and yeah, overall, this should be a fun topic to talk about, and of course, we'll go on to immigration as well, talking about the whole, kids being separated from their parents and from their criminal, illegal immigrant parents, and so on and so forth. But yeah, this should be fun. Anyway, so introduce yourselves, guys.
All right,
I
just want. Oh,
yeah.
you speak
Actually,
first.
you go ahead.
No, you go ahead, S-Man.
I'm just that random guy that argues with commies on Twitter. That's all you need to know. Go ahead, Sir Khan.
Okay, I just want to first start off that legally speaking, my views do not represent the U.S. military in any way, and oh God, why did I have to join the Navy as soon as the Space Force was announced?
Yep. Loudmouth, Aspie, was you two going to introduce yourselves? Are they gone? Did we lose connection?
No, I just think they're just being really, really silent.
Yeah.
All right,
Man, Chairview's video on Space Force got over 3,600 views. That's more than usual for his videos. But anyway, so moving on. So screen share and how Trump's Space Force would help protect Earth from future asteroids. And then there's also this one from The Hill talking about obstacles to Trump's Space Force could keep proposal grounded for now. So what do you guys think of the possibility of a Space Force?
Honestly, to be completely straight up, I don't see the huge need for it. I mean, if it's gonna happen, then fine.
There it is.
Yeah, but I personally I do not see the true need for a Space Force. I think we should. I just see it as a waste of money. I'm not trying to be rude, but that's just kind of how I see it, honestly.
Well, here's my whole beef with it. And Sargon of Akkad did a video on this, and I agree with his opinion that it's a good thing to be ahead of the rest of every country in having a space force because the next frontier for warfare will be in space. And do you want China, Russia, and all these other countries to be ahead of us when it comes to this area of military technology? I don't think so. While it will be expensive, yes, I do believe this. I do think it'll be money well spent.
And my thought is that I mean I'm not all giddy about definitely increasing the funding of our military, but the thing is, if we were to get ourselves officially a Space Force, there would be less need of like a Navy, less need for the rest of the branches because we'll have this superior firepower in space, and so the funds from the 4 other branches could be devoted to the Space Force. Heck, maybe we can even just disband the Air Force entirely and just go for the Space Force. Just
the Space and Air Force.
I mean,
yeah, like combine.
You can merge them, but I mean, I wouldn't abolish the other branches. I mean, if we're going to have a 6th, I would say that you try to divvy it up to which ones need it the most and which ones need it the least. And it's fine to have defenses on the air, on the ground, in the water, and I guess in space, like if we can stay ahead in a potential, I don't know, space race or something along those lines with being ahead of China and Russia. I can kind of
have space warfare. Doesn't mean we're also good. People won't attack or won't go to war on the domestic front or on Earth. It's always Also, this gives a lot of other opportunities for things, so finding other resources we could use out in space, the advancements of space technology, there'll be a good incentive for the advancements of space technology. Also, Donald Trump may get the grab some green alien women pussy. So that'll probably be.
Oh God!
Oh,
I actually just
I'm joking.
I
I'm
googled
joking.
space-
Trump is no Captain Kirk.
Do you mind if I?
yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I just found an article from Yahoo about it could do something to the economy, which I just linked it in the Hangout. But go ahead, Sir Khan.
Well, currently I'm in the. I'm going to be going into the military. I'm going to be going into the Navy. And I've made it clear that, God damn it, why did I have to join the moment the Space Force was going in? But in all seriousness, I do think that this is a good thing. I do think of this as an absolute necessity.
Me too.
Because and here's the thing: is that if you control space, you control the Earth, and if you can, just as how you control the air, you control the ground. Also, many people think that I don't think we need this, or no, we don't need this now. Yes, we do. Trust me. That the exact same sort of thing took place in 1947 and 1948. I don't remember when people were saying, no, we don't need an air force, we don't need it. But because there were people arguing for it heavily inside the army, mind you, because at the time the air force is actually just part of the army. And because we got on it early, we now have the best military in the world. So I think, yes, this is a good thing. And it will actually replace nuclear bombs.
I hope to God you're right.
Imagine that we get like powerful space lasers instead of nukes.
Yeah, and here's the thing: is I would love to see Donald Trump be put in gilded armor along with his fellow Space Marines taking over the universe to start a new empire. I would love to see.
Yeah,
that.
that'd be great. It'd be
All
great.
right.
Colonize that land like we've done before.
Yeah, it's not like anybody's living on it. We haven't found any extraterrestrial life other than maybe some bacteria. We might find some like bacteria or something on some other planet, but I think that'll be about it.
Also, I don't want Space Marines to be the first one to contact aliens, intelligent life, because oh god, they think horribly of us.
So anyway,
that's
Any
true.
intelligent life that could travel to this planet would pretty much view the human race as insects.
probably. Anyway, getting on to the article, and this is something that I think that everybody can pretty much agree on the idea of having a space force. I mean, in military policy aside, it's talking about destroying future asteroid threats. How Trump's space force would help protect Earth from future asteroid threats. If a military space force like the one proposed by President Donald Trump becomes a reality, odds are it would play a role in defending Earth from an incoming asteroid. In a report released today, June 20th, NASA and other federal officials unveiled what the United States should do over the next 10 years to safeguard Earth from potential asteroid impacts. That 18-page plan, called the National Near-Earth Object Preparedness Strategy and Action Plan, would involve work from agencies across the federal government, White House officials said, even potentially Trump's proposed Space Force. One of the things that should be clear from the report is that the responsibility for responding and preparing response is spread and shared throughout the U.S. government. Aaron Miles of the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy said in response to a question about a Space Force's role, so everybody brings capabilities to the table. One of the objectives of this plan is coordinating and leveraging those capabilities where they are across the government. How to defend Earth against asteroids. There's a link right there. While Miles did not mention the Space Force by name, it stands to reason that any national concerted effort to defend Earth from an incoming asteroid would involve at least some military assets in space for asteroid tracking or deflection. And if a Space Force is in service at that time, it's likely to play a role. After all, the Air Force already works hard to maintain space situational awareness of objects orbiting Earth. I mean, it is a nice idea. But I just thought of something as I was like reading this article and how much, okay, it isn't too long, but basically, if we were to be the first ones to get a Space Force, that would mean that the entire world would be reliant on the U.S. from stopping Earth from being deep impacted by some asteroid, you know? And I don't think a whole lot of our...
impact.
Yeah, or Armageddon with Bruce Willis. But anyway, as I was saying, I don't think... I don't think a whole lot of our fellow world leaders would like the idea of having such power devoted to us. I mean, what do you guys think?
I would say I would.
Sorry, you're
It might be like with an asteroid. Hey, we all knew what we were getting into when we started life on this planet. I say, let it crash.
I mean, here's the thing: is that
we can all be in hell together.
well, here's the thing: is that I actually think that that would be a good thing because they'll have to think, fuck, if we don't comply with them, they will nuke us or they will laser our asses.
Or just let the asteroid hit their country.
What's the name of that Tom Cruise movie again?
Mission Impossible?
No, the one with the aliens in it.
Tomorrow?
Yeah, that one. I think it is. The Day After Tomorrow. Yeah. Maybe it's that one.
No,
honestly,
wait, The Day After Tomorrow, that had Tom Cruise? I couldn't remember.
No, The Day After Tomorrow did not have Tom Cruise. Edge of Tomorrow did.
Honestly, I mean, part of me would want to see that countries take care of themselves. Like countries should, defend themselves against like asteroids or incoming objects that are going to hit their countries. I mean, rather than just see the United States having to take care of the rest of the world like we already do with like foreign aid and shit.
Well, I mean, good old T-Rex didn't see it coming.
Hey,
good old T-Rex had that coming. I'm kidding.
It'd be really, disappointing. What really sucks is if we got to Mars, like if there was a Mars mission, and they like dug beneath the surface, and it turns out there's like some very advanced communities living underneath the ground on Mars. They're just not living above ground, So they're really.
That's why I don't want Marines. I don't want Space Marines to make the first contact with them.
You do not want Space Marines because they might be a whole bunch of men who are just there for blood, and they'll start shooting, and we'll have a big Native American type is conflict.
That's why I want Space
toxic
Navy
masculinity.
With toxic masculinity. Keep going, sir. Keep going.
Yeah, Chimima. In all seriousness, though, if we do make intelligent life, I would want there to be a certain level of intelligence of us as human beings to be sent there. Like, I'd imagine that on the ASVAB, for you to go into the Space Force, because every branch in the military has a different standard for a minimum score to get in. I think the Marines is like 30, the Army is 32, the Navy is 35, and the Air Force is 38, with the Coast Guard being the highest of 40.
Quick question. Does this mean every single country in the world will have a portion of the moon? It'll be like Africa, like in the early 1900s.
No, I don't think so.
There was actually an international agreement a long time ago signed that no individual country can claim any land outside of the Earth.
Yeah, and diplomacy always works.
Well, and also that we cannot claim any land off of Antarctica. No country can say it's theirs. A lot of countries were forced into signing that. There's no unclaimed land, as far as I'm aware, on this planet that is unclaimed by anybody.
Sure. I would say, I'd actually, when it comes to making the moon America, I actually would be completely agree with that. I have many libertarians saying, "Sircon, you're an American imperialist." Yeah, I am, I guess.
Well, if the moon men object to it, they can send us a line.
Yeah, or we can drone strike them.
Sorry, I want to kind of continue this article before we get too lengthy. The U.S. Currently has 3 possible methods for deflecting any potentially hazardous asteroid from hitting Earth. A gravity tractor that would park a spacecraft near the asteroid and let the gravitational attraction of the 2 objects nudge the asteroid off course. Okay.
Honestly, that sounds like fiction. That doesn't even sound possible, to be completely honest. Like, park a spacecraft near the asteroid.
Yeah, you would have to have a very big spacecraft in order to make it move. I think
that would be theoretically possible.
Okay,
it's like the SDI that Reagan proposed, where you could strike a missile or something like that out of orbit. Like if some space bullshit happens, like to have 2 beams or something hit each other and knock one another out of its intended target.
You have to neutralize the nuke, I think, would be the solution. I mean, I don't know the details of the Star Wars program, but yeah.
Yeah, that SDI shit. Let me look into that further. SDI Reagan.
All right. Yeah, you go and
Oh, yeah.
look that up. A kinetic impactor that would slam a spacecraft into an asteroid to knock it off course. What the fuck? Yeah, only the smaller asteroids. A nuclear strike aimed at vaporizing the surface of an asteroid, creating a jet of material that would push the asteroid off course. Okay, that sounds a little bit more plausible.
Actually, the kinetic one actually seems to be the better idea. But it would have to. It wouldn't be like slamming into it. You'd have to have someone walk around and install various jets. And if you kept them running long enough, they could possibly, if it was a sufficient distance away from the Earth, depending on the size of the asteroid, well, it could just nudge it off course so that it wouldn't hit the Earth. Its orbit would be changed enough to miss us.
Yeah.
All
That
three,
actually would be probably the most logical idea for diverting a killer asteroid.
Yeah.
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 okay.
They had one guy, I think he worked for NASA, who gave me a rock from an asteroid. It was amazing how heavy it was. About as big as my fist. It must have weighed, geez, like, I don't know, 20, 30 pounds. Like, wow, this is heavy.
It's made of pure iron. Mostly
Yes.
iron.
Yeah.
Really heavy.
Okay, so continuing. All three of those options would require at least a 10-year lead time before a potential asteroid impact. NASA Planetary Defense Officer Lindley Johnson told reporters at the teleconference, and all could be accomplished with robotic spacecraft rather than astronauts. Okay,
10
that's
years?
yeah, I guess so. I mean, a 10-year lead. I don't know if they're referencing to 10 years of research and development of the technology or
Most
10
likely,
years
yes,
preparedness time. Because the latter would be pathetic, but the former, that's understandable.
But like, here's the thing: if we found a killer asteroid that was headed towards the Earth, and we only had, like, say, going to hit in about 6 months, yeah, we'd be fucked. There really would be nothing we could do to repel it.
Indeed. This week, Trump ordered the Department of Defense to form a Space Force as the sixth branch of the U.S. Armed Forces. The other branches are the Air Force, Army, Navy, Marines, and Coast Guard. Yeah, no shit. The Space Force, which would have to be approved by Congress, would oversee U.S. military operations in space, much of which is currently managed by the Air Force. Excuse me. But while it's likely that a Space Force, if one ever exists, would play a role in the U.S. asteroid response plan, NASA would also be heavily involved. Whatever is left of NASA, anyways. The space agency's proposed 2019 budget calls for $150 million in funding to support asteroid defense, Johnson said. That's actually kind of only a fraction of compared to what our normal military budget is.
Oh yeah, our military budget is the biggest out of all the countries
It's like
combined.
what, 500, 600 billion now?
587 billion, which even I'll admit that's a little bit overbloated.
I gotta tell you something. The reason why America's military budget is so high is because we protect other nations. We pretty much just protect all of Scandinavia. We protect a lot of European countries and so on and so forth.
Yeah, we'd stop doing that. If I was president, we'd stop doing that. I'm just saying.
So my chat is the most active now than it's ever been for a while, at least. And Humane Mind is in the chat. He says, "What? No, that's a stupid idea. We need Bruce Willis and Ben Affleck to land on the asteroids and drill a nuke into its core."
Oh,
Well,
shit.
yeah, the stupidest thing about that movie, among many other things, is the whole idea that it would ever be easier to train drillers to be astronauts than it would be to train astronauts how to drill.
Yeah, you know.
I mean-
oh man, that's actually a good point. Damn, you
Yeah,
ruined Armageddon for me, Loudmouth. Thank you.
Hold on. Ben Affleck actually went to Michael Bay on the set of that movie, okay, and asked them, why would it be easier to train drillers to be astronauts than to train astronauts how to drill? Michael Bay looked at him and told him to shut the fuck up.
Jesus Christ.
Oh man, what a narcissist.
Yeah, he is.
Although Armageddon was still a pretty good movie, at least in my
Man,
opinion.
I think it's a piece of shit, but
It's
there's another great
it's
line
dumb
that
action
Like
entertainment.
said when in the audio commentary when he's talking about
Michael Bay looks like a
Willis's
cocky guy.
character saying, these may be good astronauts, but they know nothing about drilling. And Affleck's like, yeah, this is where we get into one of the logic problems. I mean, they don't know nothing about drilling. How hard can it be? Aim the drill at the ground and point and turn it on.
I gotta tell you something about Michael Bay. The guy is I thought he was he looks like an actor for a second there.
If you're talking about his hair, like his hair is rather unconventional for a director, it seems.
His
does
movie
he have a mullet?
garbage.
Does he have well, I thought, okay, I mean, I don't want to go on too long about movies, but I thought that The Rock was a pretty decent movie with actually an investable villain to a certain extent.
What about The Purge?
The Purge?
Yeah, Bay produced that one.
Oh, well, okay, produced but not directed. So there's a little bit of a difference there. But
yeah, that's one of the dumbest movies ever. Yeah, in a few years they're going to make all crime legal. 24 hours. It's a pretentious movie because this would never fucking happen. All right, no one would ever agree to something like this. So the movie really has no message or point.
Okay. So, anyway, those funds in 2019 would support NASA's planned Double Asteroid Redirection Test, or DART, a mission that would launch in December 2020 to visit the near-Earth asteroid Didymos and its moon, nicknamed Diddy Moon. DART would crash into Didymos to test on an asteroid deflection technique called kinetic impactor, which essentially slams a projectile into an incoming object. And then there are efforts from the international community because a major asteroid impact would pose a threat to the entire Earth. Not just one country will, no shit, especially if it's big enough. The European Space Agency, for example, has drawn up plans for a companion mission to NASA's DART that would send a probe to the asteroid Didymos to watch as DART hit the space rock. It's a global hazard that we all face together, Miles said, adding that international collaboration is one of the 5 major goals of the new action plan. Johnson even suggested that civilians like amateur astronomers or the B612 Foundation for Asteroid Awareness could play a response role. Planetary defense is a team sport, Johnson said. We welcome capability where it comes. Okay, end of article. It says you can download so-and-so, but yeah.
Yeah, I provided the SDI link for you in an article that is, I think is, it sounds like it's going to make the argument for a Space Force by saying it's going to, let me read the title. Trump's Space Force, yeah, Space Force could fuel a new $1 trillion economy.
Wait, what was that, Darkon? I missed it.
I had an ad playing for a moment there. I was all like, "Oh, jeez."
You know that the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs was only about I think 8 or 9 miles in diameter. All right, and look at the damage it caused.
Didn't that only affect? Didn't the blast area only affect a certain portion of the Earth, whereas the fallout destroyed the rest of the dinosaurs?
Yeah, it cooled the climate and killed off most of the plants that large herbivores would need to survive. All right, and of course, large predators need those large herbivores to survive, so they died with them.
So it wasn't like Armageddon, where the entire where the asteroid or explosion from the asteroid reached the entire fucking planet, essentially, is what you're saying.
Well, obviously, no, because if that was the case, life would be extinct, you know?
Guys, I'll be right back. I'm going to go grab myself something to drink.
Okay.
The fact that we're here at the moment, obviously, is proof that it wasn't that devastating, but it obviously devastated the planet's climate, that all animals pretty much above, I think, what is it? 60, 70 pounds were pretty much wiped out. Only the really tiny ones were able to survive.
Okay, which one was it you were suggesting, S-Man? Was it the Wikipedia article or the Yahoo article?
The Yahoo one, but if you want to read up about SDI, which was under Reagan, which is what I was referring to, you can do either one really, but the pro Space Force article, or at least that's what it looks like, is the Yahoo one.
Okay, it's pro Space Force. This was actually pretty pro Space Force. I thought the space.com article.
Well, yeah.
It was being kind of non-partisan about the idea of a Space Force, which I think good on them. I mean,
all right, I'm back. What did I miss?
Not much.
You did not miss much. We're just yeah, we're about to move on to the next article here, still on the subject of the Space Force, but it's talking about the obstacles to Trump's Space Force could keep proposal grounded for now. Now, I have a couple other articles that go critiquing the idea of the Space Force as well, but I just wanted to like read probably the snappiest article that I have in my collection so that we can move on to the next subject. But anyway, if we don't find it sufficient, maybe we'll read another article. President Trump's proposal this week for a Space Force is already facing obstacles in Congress and at the Pentagon, two places where he'll need broad support to get his initiative off the ground. Trump surprised lawmakers and military officials on Monday when he directed the Defense Department to create a Space Force as its sixth military service branch. On Capitol Hill, the president faces the difficult task of garnering congressional backing for his plan, with several key lawmakers voicing skepticism over the idea. I think it's somebody wanting to have something new that they can talk about. Yeah, like during election season, for example. Senator Ben Nelson of the Democrat of Florida, a member of the Senate Armed Services Committee, said of Trump's plan.
Yeah.
I wonder if Trump has talked about the possibility of using the Space Force to deflect asteroids, because this is like a pretty good case for a Space Force, I thought.
I don't know if he said anything about it. I'm trying to find if he has, but I'm not finding any results yet.
I see. So anyway, Nelson, who led last year's effort to kill a House proposal to establish a Space Corps within the Air Force, said the new branch would cost so much money it would be so duplicative. He added that Air Force officials also don't want the move, but they are now muzzled by the administration from speaking out against it. Now, wait, Air Force officials also don't want the move? Like, don't want the move of creating the branch? Or
one of the reasons why... Oh, excuse me.
You're all right.
So I'm having a root beer. Haven't had one in a long time. The reason why is because adding a sixth branch would add more bureaucracy, and it would add. And think about it. Imagine the bureaucracy that took place back then. Like I would actually argue that it probably would have been a lot more, if not equal, to what we have today. Because back then they didn't have the internet where they could just make a tweet and saying, "Okay, this is how it's gonna be done." No, they had to travel halfway across the world sometimes just to get to a meeting for one day, and that's it. And
Man, that sucks.
Back then, there were people arguing aggressively, saying, "No, we do not need the Air Force. We do not need it." So that's probably what's going to happen now with the Space Force.
Okay.
Yeah. Even when we don't get a Space Force, chances are what will happen is that the Air Force will expand to space anyways.
I can't imagine what it'll be like to be able to watch battles through a telescope.
Oh god. Oh god. I hope not.
You know what would be cool? I mean, if we could like officially get a Space Force going, then we could like transfer all of our F-16s and all the other conventional fighter jets that we have, and make them like
falling out of the sky.
Make them like a space air hybrid type of ship, you know, one that can like fly over regular air and then into space as well.
Yeah, that could work.
I hope this is the final branch, though. If we have a Space Force, I hope that's the final branch. I don't want any more branches. Hell, I don't even think you can create any more after this, because you got air, ground,
ocean.
Oh yeah, air, ground, ocean. Like at some point, you're going to run out of things you're gonna have to support and defend.
Hey guys, you know, I'm sorry, but I'm a musician. I was thinking to myself, you know how each branch of the military has like their own has their own song, like the Air Force has, you know, Off we go into the wild blue yonder, you know, like that. I wonder what the Space Force's anthem is going to be.
It's going to be the Star Trek theme.
It's gonna be this. We are the Space Force, the Space Force. Yeah, that one.
I like that.
Trump stuff.
Let's go with that.
Anyway, Nelson, who led last year's effort to kill a House proposal to establish a Space Corps within the Air Force, said the new branch would cost so much money. Oh wait.
You already read that.
Sorry. Senator James Inhofe, Republican of Oklahoma, the senior member of the Armed Services panel, told The Hill he's reluctant to back a separate Space Force. Wow, this even coming from a Republican. And typically, you know, Republicans are the more... I mean, if we're just going off of stereotypes, stereotypically Republicans are the more militaristic and would be more loyal to Trump. So This
Damn right,
coming from
motherfucker.
a Republican, like, breaking the stereotype, it kind of makes his word kind of weigh heavy. I mean, there are lots of pros and cons to weigh in the options of this. And I have 6 viewers right now, so, gee, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's a serious subject. It's one that I would have a hard time supporting. Inhofe said, all of our branches have the space element.
We need a time force and a subterranean force. That's what Humane said.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's your extra branches right there, S-Man. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Oh, wait.
Oh fuck! How the hell? How the? I know Humane's joking, but how the hell would that even work?
Time force.
Time force.
All of our branches.
Play Time Splitters 2 and you'll find out.
Okay, this is interesting right here. All of our branches have the space element, and it's working. Like, I never known that. Like, I mean, with the Air Force, it's not surprising, but Army, Navy, Marines, they'll have some kind of space shuttle within their branch. Is that what I'm understanding?
Here's the thing: is that I could maybe understand the Navy actually, because here's the thing: is that the Navy isn't just focused on water. Like, yes, that does take place, but I could picture, like, in case the Navy is desperate and our ships are going out, we'd have like a satellite in the air saying, "Okay, boom, bang, laser," and if we were desperate. But that's like extreme case scenario. You know, I can't picture anything in relation to the Navy, because it's like this: Navy, water does not equal space.
I guess it doesn't make that much sense. I actually remember watching this second-rate sci-fi series. It was called Space Above and Beyond. I do not know if Loudmouth had heard of this series. It only lasted for 1 season. But basically, it was about this squad of Marines. And not only were they Marines, like, you know, being riflemen on the ground and so on and so forth, they were also trained to fly starships, starfighters as well. And, like, every single branch of the military had their own workings within, you know, space. And they did not, I don't think they technically had a space force. Like, just every branch of the military just worked collectively in space to help fight the aliens in that series. I mean, that's what just reminded me of that. So anyway, okay. He added that he's not sure how serious Trump was when he made the announcement. Yeah, that's kind of a thing. Trump can be rather sarcastic and whatnot sometimes. Trump's proposal left many questions unanswered, including whether he intended the military arm to stand on its own or whether it would fall under the Air Force, much like the Marine Corps is part of the Department of the Navy. He also didn't include a timeline for the initiative. The plan is also seen as a 180-degree turn from the White House's position last year, when it opposed the House plan to create a Space Corps under the Air Force, saying it was premature at this time. Interesting. Now the Commander-in-Chief will need help from lawmakers who must decide whether to amend Title 10 of the United States Code to allow for the creation of a new military service. Both the House and the Senate have completed their versions of the annual defense policy bill, with little room for a Space Force provision to be added when lawmakers from both chambers reconcile the two measures during a conference committee. Get on my face, Ed. That means Trump's first major roadblock is timing, according to Todd Harrison, a congressional and aerospace expert with the Center for Strategic and International Studies in Washington. Technically, it's possible that they could insert this during conference, but this is a major legislative proposal, Harrison said. I think it's very doubtful that they would try to take this up in conference committee. Senator Dan Sullivan, Republican of Alaska, a member of the Armed Services Committee as well, said it would be a heavy lift to drop the space issue into a conference report. My view is we're trying to rebuild the military, the 5 services, Sullivan said. That's my focus right now. Well, why not like, okay, so we have like some waste that is going to outmoded military equipment. Like, yeah. I can't remember the specific bombers that the Air Force is still using, but instead of funding for that, the funding for those older generation bombers could be devoted to the funding of the Space Force, is how that I see that.
Honestly, I would take that money and just put it towards other issues that America faces rather than put it in different parts of the military. I'd kind of do what Dwight Eisenhower did: is you downsize the military and focus on infrastructure. To be completely honest, I'd kind of pull a Dwight.
I'm sorry. Oh crap!
Perhaps, but I kind of think that it is a bit of a good point that Sir Conservatarian makes when he says that that if we do not get a space force first, then some other nation is going to get a space force before us, and then we'll be like overtaken militarily easily.
I still think we could honestly look at the size of the United States military. We could easily, if any nation decided to fuck with us, we could shut their asses down quickly. Like if we want,
not if they had the space force.
Well, here's the thing, dude. Here's the thing, dude. S-Man, I kind of understand where you're coming from, and here's how I think it should play out. Keep our budget as it is. Like I prefer it to go down the military budget, and that's coming from someone going into the military.
Yeah.
But the thing is that I don't see that realistically happening. I think what should happen is this: is that keep the budget as it is currently, and then have that money be divided more equally amongst the 6 branches if we're gonna have a space force. Because right now, it's an if. It's not a when. It's an if.
Yeah, like I mean, I don't know if I'm just looking at this from the non-interventionist point of view, but it's I don't know. I mean, we were able to downsize the military before. I think we could again.
We need to be non-interventionalist. We need to establish the prime directive. Do we have really a right to go mess with the inner workings of a society of microbes that live on Mars?
I mean,
but anyway, this isn't even about interventionism necessarily, Esman. It's about keeping one step ahead of the rest of the nations, not necessarily about invading them and creating overseas democracies.
No. What I'm saying is, I mean, right now we don't even have a space force, and we'd still be able to crush nations without even flexing the muscle all that much.
Yeah, we can just exile all our prisoners to Venus.
Sure, fuck it.
Well, that actually, I would.
Yeah, that would be very nice. I recommend putting
put all the pedophiles on Venus.
I second that.
Definitely. But I would actually say that's not enough. Put them next to the sun.
No, Venus is worse. Venus is just as bad.
Yeah, that's the thing about Venus, though. Even though it's further away from the sun as Mercury, it's actually hotter due to how incredibly.
It has a very dense atmosphere.
Yeah, dense atmosphere full of carbon dioxide, and they don't have an ocean like we do in order to filter out that carbon dioxide.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's pretty much global warming to the extreme on Venus.
Right. Actually, with the thick cloud cover, Venus actually should be colder than the Earth if it wasn't for the intense carbon dioxide. Yeah, those clouds, those acid clouds that cover Venus, keep most of the light out. That's why it was very difficult for people to know what the surface of Venus was like until they were able to send probes there.
Right.
Actually, they sent one probe and then it melted in like 20-something.
Yes. I remember old science fiction from the 50s before they sent that probe, imagining Venus was like a paradise.
Yeah, then they got there and it melted.
Yes, Venus is not a paradise; it's pure hell under those clouds.
Yeah, it's like.
All right.
Let's continue reading the article.
In addition, the Defense Department is due to give Congress a roadmap in August for how it would create a separate department for space. A provision inserted in the fiscal 2018 National Defense Authorization Act, NDAA. It makes logical sense to wait for that before they move forward, Harrison said. Timing-wise, that would leave next year's NDAA as the next opportunity for Congress to tackle the issue. But even then, creating a space force will probably take at least another 2 or 3 years minimum, Harrison said, noting the timely legislative process that would need to be followed by an implementation period. So don't worry, Sir Conservatarian. It's going to be a little while until they actually initiate the space force, so you'll have some time to be in the Navy before you transfer branches.
Yeah, also, Darkon Humane makes a good point there. He says in the chat, if another country creates a space force, we could just take out their communications, rendering their space force useless.
Perhaps.
I mean, here's the thing. Here's the thing is that it wouldn't be wise for us to do that, because again, they could easily use lasers at that point or whatever technology to take us out immediately. I mean, think about it. If you have a space force, you're not going to give out your secrets to the enemy. It would just make sense from that. Also, who's to say they would just have one satellite or one source of power?
I mean, it would. The question is if we could like take down the communications. Otherwise, if we aren't able to take down the communications in a timely fashion, I mean, this could go for all branches of the military. Actually, if you can take down the communications of any branches of the military, then they won't be able to operate properly. But the question is if. And if we don't take down the communications in a timely fashion, well, then we'll have like space lasers nailing down on New York City before then.
Yeah, that's kind of been my concern is that if the enemy has a space force or whatever, like God, why did he have to go with the name Space Force? It doesn't sound intimidating to me. Go with Space Corps
or Star Force.
No, that doesn't sound. That sounds too stupid. That sounds too much like Star Wars.
Go with the name Strike Force because we're gonna strike and it's gonna have a lot of force in it.
Interesting. But in all seriousness,
all right.
When the idea from Sun Tzu is this: that you want to make your secrets as dark as the night, and once you put your plans into motion, you want to strike as fast as lightning.
All right. So, the Pentagon also appears hesitant to act quickly on Trump's directive. After his announcement, the Pentagon released a statement indicating the process would take some time. Our policy board will begin working on this issue, which has implications for intelligence operations for the Air Force, Army, Marines, and Navy. Chief Pentagon spokeswoman Dana White said, working with Congress, this will be a deliberate process with a great deal of input from multiple stakeholders. Defense Secretary James Mattis on Wednesday said that Trump's proposal will require work with Congress that has not yet started. This, as you know, is going to require legislation and a lot of detailed planning, and we've not yet begun, Mattis told reporters outside the Pentagon. We've clearly got to start the process. He said the Space Force is among the issues Pentagon leaders will bring up on Friday when they meet with National Security Advisor John Bolton, Mr. Selleckstash. Air Force leaders, meanwhile, seem hesitant to fully embrace the proposal. I think the article is kind of repeating itself because it just said that earlier, basically.
Yeah.
Last year, they warned that it would be premature and create burdensome bureaucracy to separate a space component from the rest of the service. On Tuesday, Air Force officials released a memo to personnel saying not to expect any immediate changes following Trump's announcement. This work, directed by the president, will be a thorough, deliberate, and inclusive process, according to the memo, signed by Air Force Secretary Heather Wilson, Chief of Staff David Goldfein, and Chief Master Sergeant Khaleth Wright. As such, we should not expect any immediate moves or changes. Our focus must remain on the mission as we continue to accelerate the space warfighting capabilities required to support the national defense strategy. Still, some lawmakers support a separate space arm as long as it remains under the Air Force. Okay. I mean, I think that could work as well. We don't necessarily have to make it a totally separate branch. Just give ourselves like the space capability, the space fighting capability. I mean, that's kind of the way that Reagan approached it. It wasn't an entirely separate branch, but he just was given us space fighting capability, or trying to anyways. House Armed Services Committee ranking member Adam Smith, Democrat of Washington, said he supported last year's efforts by Representatives Mike Rogers, Republican of Alabama, and Jim Cooper, a Democrat of Tennessee, to establish a Space Corps within the Air Force, and said he would support them again. I'm open to it, Smith said, while noting that we still got to work with the Senate. Harrison predicted some of the resistance in the Senate may diminish now that the Air Force has been directed to get on board with Trump's plan. There's been more passive resistance until now by the Air Force going over to the Hill and telling people, we don't need this. We don't want it. It's a bad idea, Harrison said. Now that the Air Force can't really do that anymore, it'd be interesting to see if some of that resistance in the Senate starts to fade away. But there are still those who don't seem likely to change their hardline stance. When asked if he believes that legislation for a Space Force would go through next year, Nelson replied, not if I have anything to do with it. End of article.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think? I mean, we're going to transfer on to immigration soon, but what do you guys think?
I think that's interesting. I'll do a little more looking into it before I.
Yeah,
before
I think it is. There's a lot of back and forth on whether or not we need a space force, but I do think it's important to stay ahead of other countries in terms of military development, because if we don't, they're going to catch up to us, and it can have very bad. A lot of people could die because of it.
I just
We
hope,
have a $20 trillion debt. We can't afford a space force.
yeah, like here's the thing. Like if we cut the military's budget, which I think we could, and we'd still be fine. Depends on how deep you cut. I'd throw it towards paying off the national.
Not unless
debt.
they privatize Social Security.
Yeah, they need to do that.
I mean, I don't know, but honestly, personally, I don't know much about that. I haven't researched much about the implications of privatizing Social Security. But what was I going to say? I mean, I'm not advocating for increasing the military budget. I'm just saying that if they want to create a space force or space corps, whatever you want to label it, that they could and should devote the funding from, outmoded military equipment and into space fighting capability in the Space Corps. It's just my thing. I mean, I guess what I'm saying is that I'm not trying to be all giddy about, yes, definitely we need a Space Corps, but still, that's my thought on it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to look at it from all sides.
Oh my gosh, I got copyrighted again for my cover of Grenade by Bruno Mars. My gosh, it's a cover!
And you didn't even use copyrighted music. You just sang the goddamn lyrics.
Yeah, I just well, they didn't they didn't take the video down. They just there's just a copyright claim on it because it sounds exactly like. Frankly, I don't know if to take that as a compliment because of my voice is so good that it sounds like the recording. So anyway, keep going.
Take it as a compliment, Aspie. Take it as a compliment.
Yeah.
Oh, hold on, I'm gonna.
You're tooting your own horn all over us, man.
Also,
I'm joking.
Yeah. Also, Humane makes a funny point in the chat. He says the temperature of Venus does not change. The temperature of Venus do not change during the night, so the heat is not likely to, due to the greenhouse effect, as the planet would likely heat up during the day. Then you could live up to your name and copyright strike Trump's strike force for stealing your name.
Huh. So sorry, I'm just looking at my Twitter right now. There's a lot of
yeah, a lot of people are tweeting on Twitter. That never happens usually.
People activity. Yeah, sorry, I don't get a whole lot of activity on my Twitter normally. I mean, it's positive Twitter feedback, but I'll look at this some later time. Right now, gotta stick to business, you know.
Yeah, we got you new followers, Zach. You're welcome. But yeah, honestly,
thanks.
The title of this is so fucking dumb. Representative Barbara Lee accuses Trump administration of criminalizing illegal immigrants, which
I'm sorry. You know what's the fucked up part? You know what's the fucked up part is that I actually ended up going having lunch. I ended up having lunch with some members of my swim team, and they were saying like, "Oh, you realize Donald Trump is evil, and he's like separating children from his family and criminalizing aliens and such." And I think, oh my fucking god, are you serious?
Okay, yeah. My personal opinion is that this is so freaking dumb. People complaining about the separation of children from their, criminal parents. I mean, we do that with all sorts of other crimes. I mean, the only reason why people are complaining about this is because they think that illegal immigration is a victimless crime and shouldn't be a crime at all, like open borders and such, or they're just they're having their hearts.
They want free votes.
And here's the thing:
they're having their heartstrings pulled a little bit too easily, just because parents get separated from their kids. Like
power for a while, he thought he was going to lose the election. He imported a bunch of foreigners into his country and gave them the ability to vote because he knew they'd vote for him.
Who?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry?
Hugo Chavez. Back when he was alive.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now here's the thing: is that when it comes with these it's really leftists that are saying that he's evil. Here's what I would tell them: like, okay, so what about Planned Parenthood. Like, I'm not an anti-abortionist or pro-abort. Wow, that sounds so horrible. Pro-abortion, pro-lifer, and whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so you're kind of in the middle when it comes to the issue of abortion.
Yeah, and when it comes,
just put it that way.
Yeah, fuck it. You know. Anyways, when it comes to people, like I saw on Twitter, like Planned Parenthood saying that no children should be separated from their parents. I think you fucking. Oh my god, that's so.
There's a lot of kids that need to be separated from their dipshit parents.
Yeah, I just found that to be so ironic. And you make a good point, Aspie. You make a good point. That's why we have child protective services to separate children from their abusive parents. And now,
yeah, this brings up an interesting question. Do you guys think that people should be required to have licenses to have children?
No, because who would control the standard of what is good disciplinary action? I mean, you would have like a panel of people selecting of what is a good disciplinary action.
I really think the main thing is they shouldn't pay people to have kids. I actually think a good system probably could discourage having kids in exchange for welfare instead of encouraging it.
I don't know. I mean,
you could like you get welfare checks if you get a vasectomy or something.
No, absolutely not. I'm not gonna cut my nuts for money.
They don't cut your nuts; they cut the tube inside your.
Yeah, they cut your nuts. Yeah,
basically cut the nuts.
Vasectomy.
Oh shit.
Also, here's the thing.
My balls hurt.
Anyways, and what I would say to these people, and this is what I told these two girls the other day, is like, okay, so if these parents really cared for their children, they wouldn't have brought their children and put them under the risk of getting hurt crossing the border.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just dumb because we separate parents from their kids like all the time. Like, you get in a DUI that ends up in manslaughter, you get arrested, put in jail. You might get a visit by your kids, but you're still separated from your kids ultimately. You cannot
what's really stupid? And my liberal guitar teacher tried to use this with me too. He said, if you do that, at the border, how can you say that you're a Christian and want to separate children from parents because the Bible says do no harm to children? I'm just like,
no, it doesn't.
Oh my gosh.
Doesn't. The Bible frequently has commands to kill children.
Also, I had to argue with my liberal friends on Facebook about the same.
Let it go, Hunter.
Thing.
Let it go.
Like this bullshit about
Jesus said no. Actually, Jesus said at one point that a man who hurts a child should put rocks in his pocket and jump in a lake or something along those lines.
Actually, it has a millstone tied to his neck.
Jesus never said that in the Bible. That's a made-up quote.
Yeah, what was it?
Oh boy, this is another religion stream.
Anyway, I don't want to get totally off of topic, but I recall which verse you're talking about, Aspie. If only we had the specific quote. But
anyways, I think we should get back to the conversation or the original subject.
Yes. So this is from the Washington Times. Yeah, and so I came across it on Twitter, I think it was, and it was just so dumb by the title alone, and I thought this was going to be some real entertaining response bait right here, and I thought, oh goody, response bait. Oh, I click to read more and do comments. Okay, thank you. Anyway, Representative Barbara Lee, California Democrat, accused the Trump administration Sunday of criminalizing illegal immigrants. Okay, illegally immigrating into the country is already criminalized, and if you do that, you are criminals. Technically, you're criminalizing yourself if you break the law.
Yes, that's very true.
What they should do? They should make breaking the law illegal.
Who would have thunk it?
Oh man, what a dumb bitch. Miss Lee, who joined a congressional delegation that visited intake and detention facilities Saturday near the border in Texas, described the conditions as tragic. I mean, these people are being criminalized. I can't help but laugh every time that I hear somebody say, oh, illegal
criminalization intensifies.
Criminals are being criminalized.
How dare they? How dare they accuse these criminals for their crimes?
Said Miss Lee on CNN's State of the Union. We went into the processing center where there are cages, certainly. People think there aren't. There are. We saw these cages. Like actual cages or like jail cells? I don't know.
They're not even jail cells. Okay, they're large detention centers where these kids are slept, or where they're given education. They have like time off where they can go have a big basketball court. All right, yeah, it sucks that these kids have to be ripped from their parents. Okay, and they should detain the families together. But my God, people comparing these to Holocaust death camps can fuck themselves.
Yeah,
hold on. Here's a funny thing. This actually happened. So okay, when I was having this argument with those two same girls, they're saying it's like, you realize that they're putting you in cages, right? I said, well, yeah, Obama did the same thing in 2014, but yet you didn't care about it. Also, I think it's wrong that they're putting children in cages, but you realize that they're making it seem like a summer school, not a summer school, but like a summer-esque environment for them. I don't know what term I'm looking for, but
a term. You're looking for a term.
For a term, what?
You're looking for a term. I was just being an asshat about that, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And the funny thing, the next day when Donald Trump signed the executive order saying that they cannot be separated, I told them we're winning. We win all the time. Oh, it was so hysterical.
Anyway, at the detention center, she said, we talked to maybe 10 or 15 mothers. These are jails. These are prisons. These are people who are being criminalized. That's because illegally immigrating is against the law. So you're going to be a criminal if you break the law. I mean, it doesn't even matter if the law is moral or not, which obviously I think that invading a country without anybody's permission is immoral, and so therefore should be illegal. But even if it was an immoral law, a law that was immorally stripping rights or whatever, it would still be, it would still make you a criminal if you were to break that law. Well,
Yeah.
like, say, if I was to be a Christian in a country that outright bans believing in Jesus and so on and so forth, I would still be a criminal, even if it's neither moral nor immoral to be whatever religion that you want,
Sorry to bring up Owen McDonald here, but he said something along the lines of, oh, just because it's the law doesn't mean it's justified. And I'm like, I think the immigration law here is completely justified because here's the thing.
I think there might be a few things to be reformed, but I cannot mention specific examples.
I'm going to be right back again. I got to go get another drink.
But anyway, So anyway, David Urban, a former senior advisor to the 2016 Trump campaign, countered that the adults have been jailed because they violated U.S. law. Yeah, I mean, and that's how that you process this. To address the point that the Congresswoman raises, they're in jail because they're criminals, said Mr. Urban. They broke the law by crossing the border illegally, so of course they would be criminalized, or their actions are criminalized already. He added, that's why they're in jail. You come to a facility, you come to one of the ports of entry, you apply for asylum, you do things right, okay? You're not going to break the law. You cross the border illegally, you're going to be in jail. Ms. Lee called last week for the United Nations to send observers saying that the Trump administration is committing human rights abuses in our own country. Example, or are you just referring to not allowing people to openly just immigrate into our country?
Aspie and Humane in the chat. I looked up that quote you said, and it wasn't exactly word for word, but there does seem to be a quote similar to that. I don't know why I didn't remember that one. So I seemed like I was wrong there. So I retract that.
All right, what did I miss? What did I miss?
A loudmouth retracting a statement.
I had to retract a statement because I looked it up and I realized that I was actually mostly incorrect on that one.
Okay. Yeah, about the millstone around the dude's neck.
Pocket a milestone. Yeah, put a milestone around your neck.
That's why I didn't remember that quote. I did. Yeah, the quote, the way you worded it, that sounded like a fake quote because it doesn't sound like something from the Bible, but I realized it's pretty approximately similar. So you mostly were right, even though your wording was wrong.
That was the red flag in my head. I was thinking, no, it's not a pocket full of rocks. It's a single big rock tied around your neck.
It sounds like bullshit. Yeah.
But anyway, by separating an estimated 2,300 minors from their parents after detaining them. Mr. Trump signed an executive order Wednesday to end the practice of separating illegal immigrant parents from their children at the U.S.-Mexico border, but said the administration's zero-tolerance policy of prosecuting undocumented border crossers would remain in place. Okay, so yeah. But what I have to say in conclusion of this article, a very short article, by the way, Barbara Lee, dumb woman. I mean, with all due respect, ma'am, but you're being stupid. Sorry.
Dumb bitch.
Yeah. To quote Undoomed, you're being a fucking moron. Anyway, so what do you guys think of that? I mean, we're going to.
I mean, the morbid side of me wants to say this. We should be more strict. We should not only just build a wall, but put mines across the border so as to blow up. I know it sounds fucked. It sounds horrible, but it would act as a very strong incentive. It's like, yeah, I don't want to cross that border illegally. I think I'm good at having my limbs.
Yeah.
And even
yeah.
And I'll take it a step further in saying this. That the cages, are a little fucked. Like, yeah, I think that's a little wrong. I do think that we should, take a little cue from the Nazis.
I mean, I think there was like articles going around about how one of the certain pictures was fake of a kid being caged, but there might be a case of some other anecdotes of where kids are being caged like a fucking dogs in China as agriculture.
They're not being chained. They're not being caged like in a little tiny cage. It's like a big giant room where they're put in. It's just blocked off by a chain link fence.
That's why people comparing them to Holocaust death camps really piss me off.
Yeah, not even close.
There's no similarity.
It wasn't even just the 6 million Jews. The first people to die were Russian war captives and whatnot.
But the guy I talked to, that Holocaust survivor, he was like forced to do back-breaking work at the age of 12. Okay, when he couldn't work hard enough, an SS member grabbed a shovel and whacked him on the side of the head so hard it permanently destroyed his hearing in that ear. Good thing though Nazi Germany is dead. Right, exactly. But unless anyone can find an example like that of these kids being treated like that on a daily basis, they can fuck off comparing them to Holocaust.
It just takes one accusation of molestation, and then it'll all blow up.
Any ICE agent who molests one of those kids should be given life in prison.
That's not enough.
That's not harsh enough. That's why I support capital punishment, especially for sex criminals. But Dark Khan,
castration.
Yes. Also, to answer Dark Khan, I'm pretty strict with immigration. Like, yes, I do hold a lot of libertarian views, but I will say that I don't give a shit about immigration. If you come here illegally, you deserve to be deported. I don't give a damn. Like, if it's due to war, natural disaster, like, I will empathize and give temporary asylum. But if it's because you're not willing to go through the process, you can fuck off. You're going to be deported, and I don't give a shit if you're separated from your kids. I don't. I really don't. And anyone who wants to call me racist for it, you can suck my fucking dick.
All right. So anyway, speaking of Holocaust death camps, as Loudmouth mentioned twice, I originally wasn't going to go over this article, but Loudmouth mentioned it, and I could not help but bring up the article that I had read or came across earlier this week. Rabbi Spero, however you pronounce that.
Spero, I think.
Excuse me. Comparing border detention to Nazi Holocaust is offensive to actual Holocaust survivors.
Of course.
So, some critics of the Trump administration's immigration policy at the U.S.-Mexico border compared the situation there to the fears faced by Jews in Nazi concentration camps. A claim that Rabbi however you pronounce it, Spero, said is abhorrent and insulting to real Holocaust survivors.
Exactly. I thought they were comparing it. There was a whole Twitter's moment where they were comparing the border kids to the Japanese internment camps by America in the 1940s.
Wow.
That comparison, although it's just as hyperbolic as the ones comparing the Nazi death camps, still off the mark because, of course, the people in those Japanese internment camps were citizens. that they were doing this shit too. It didn't break the law.
It's still a conflation. On June 16th, former CIA Director Michael Hayden tweeted a picture of the Nazi death camp Auschwitz and wrote, "Other governments have separated mothers and children. The clear implication is that Trump's border policy, which leads to some family separation under the law, is the same thing as the separation of families at the Nazi concentration camp."
Yeah,
it is official, people. If you enforce your laws at all,
Except
you
the
are
mothers and
Nazi
the children.
Germany.
Except the mothers and the children were being thrown into containers and being forced to die by hydrocyanide. You know,
Hey.
You know what I would tell the General Michael Hayden? I'd tell him to go shove it up his ass, because you were the leader of the CIA and the NSA during the time when it was found out that you were spying on U.S. citizens. So go shove it up your ass.
Aspie,
yeah.
By the way, Aspie, I don't mean to be a dick, but kind of having a bad habit of interrupting people during this stream.
Sorry.
Oh, no,
I'm
no.
sorry.
As I was trying to make a point there, if anybody ever tries to enforce their laws at all, you are instantly like Nazi Germany. That was the point I was trying to make.
Yeah, it's pretty retarded, honestly. Like, whenever people bitch about the supposed civil liberties violations by the United States when it comes to immigrants, it's funny how some of them defend or don't give a shit about the civil liberties violations from the United States on its own people, like the drug war, and NSA spying, which I had to fucking argue against Vanguard and Secular Hawk, who fucking... Vanguard was saying that it was okay to erode some civil liberties if it means to keep us safe, and I'm like, fuck you. God.
What the heck?
Like, what kind of cuck do you have to be to say, yeah, I want to lose some of my rights, even if it keeps me safe? Go to fucking prison, and you'll be safe there, but you won't be free. Oh, God,
Damn.
that felt pretty good to just get that out there. I feel a little more energetic now.
You go to prison, and you'll be safe, but you won't be free. That's... oh, man.
I'll keep you safe. If you.
That actually is a good Harry Truman quote. All right.
No, it's Benjamin Franklin.
Oh.
No, I believe this is a Harry Truman quote, okay, where he said, in prison, you have free health care, all your needs are met, all right, food. The only thing missing is freedom.
Yeah, I thought I read it.
I'm sure, but that was the basic gist.
I'll
of
look it up.
And you get free sex.
Yes.
That might not be the type of sex that you want. I mean, if
Yeah.
you are strictly a
definitely
straight
is not
man.
the kind of sex you want.
Most men want.
Well, let me go. Okay. Yeah, apparently it's from Dwight D. Eisenhower. At least this is what it says. If you want total security, go to prison. Then you're fed, clothed, given medical care, and so on. The only thing lacking is freedom.
Yes, that's the proper quote. I was going off the top of my head.
I mean,
Yeah.
for me, when it comes to what the NSA do, I think this. It is wrong, but I can understand why they're doing it. I'm not saying that what they're doing is right, but I can understand it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
And to a certain extent, I want to agree with them. I want to, but at the same time, I don't. I feel as though I'm playing both parties and saying that, you know?
Yeah, but my thing is with the the drug war. My problem with I can see why, because people have a right to do with their bodies what they want, but at the same time, addiction to high potency drugs causes people to do bad things. Like when you're a heroin addict and you run out of money, it'll lead you to commit more crime. It can lead to more criminality. And also when people are on like hallucinogenic drugs, like PCP, people do very dangerous stuff. Like they're willing to attack other people. It's very dangerous. So I can't see a reason why PCP should be legal. I can't.
There's certain...
In terms of marijuana, my position is, can anyone provide a coherent answer as to why alcohol is legal and marijuana is not?
They're both drugs, and here's the thing: if we fucking ended the drug war, which would save us a lot of money, and we taxed and regulated marijuana the same we do as alcohol and tobacco, we'd be saving around $100 billion. And I
okay, but what about PCP? What about harder drugs like cocaine, heroin?
Those I did not find a stat about. But I'm talking about marijuana in general.
I agree with you on marijuana. It's pretty much it's a safer drug. In fact, one of the employees I work with actually does marijuana, and he's a better person when he's high.
The others I don't know about.
I want to add this. There is more of a moral argument to be made for legalizing marijuana, but there is almost no moral argument to be made about legalizing cocaine, meth, and heroin and all those harder drugs and whatnot, except people's own liberty, you know.
Bodily autonomy, yeah.
And here's my stance on drug usage is this: I for one would not tolerate it. Like maybe marijuana if I was in a relationship, maybe I'd be willing to tolerate it, but I'd still be on iffy because I'm joining the military.
I probably wouldn't do it.
Yeah, here's the thing: and again, folks, Navy, if you're spying on me, I'm just gonna make it clear: I have not tasted any marijuana. Okay, just putting that out there now.
Test him right now, everybody.
Anyways, but no, in all seriousness, when it comes to things like cocaine, CPD or LSD, I still do think that they should be legal, but it should be really hard to get. Like, it would be really expensive and then taxed.
Oh yeah, I think our economies, our economies would do better. I believe if my state legalized marijuana, I think we'd be doing pretty damn well.
Yeah, and I think a lot of drug addicts, should be allowed to basically go into rehab without facing criminal charges. That's another big thing about the drug war. Is somebody who really wants to be rehabilitated can't because they'll face criminal charges. And
well, they weren't going after drug addicts in the drug war as much as they were going after drug dealers, big time war drug kings and whatnot, who are slitting people's throats for about.
But those guys are enabled by the fact that that industry is driven underground. If you don't ever see somebody going in the street saying, "Hey kid," pulls out his trench coat, says, "I got a little whiskey."
Anyway, if I could bring this the stream back on the rails. Sorry guys, but we went on from immigration to talking about drugs and the drug war. But anyway, Rabbi Spero, who heads the Caucus for America, told CNSNews.com Michael Hayden's tweet comparing the temporary separation of a group of children from parents on our southern border to the Nazi Holocaust is an abhorrent comparison. It is knowingly wrong. It minimizes the enormity of the Holocaust and unfairly maligns our country, particularly when it comes to immigration. The Nazis separated families as part of a first phase of forced labor and murder of Jews, an entire race, said Rabbi Spero. We, in contrast, are taking care of these children, perhaps better than they're normally taken care of, during the limited days of necessary investigation. No animus is intended on our part or on the part of President Trump, Attorney General Sessions, or the Department of Homeland Security, said Spero. Mr. Hayden's offense was not simply against Holocaust survivors and those murdered, but America itself. It is unethical to make accusations that are lies and purposely degrading, said the rabbi. One wonders how a man with such lack of judgment, clarity, and common sense was head of the NSA and CIA. Just another deep stater, a deeper, who places politics above truth. On June 19th, Jonathan Greenblatt, however, head of the liberal Anti-Defamation League, said the separation of children from their parents, as my colleagues has said, is immoral. It's wrong. Unfortunately, it is all too familiar. Okay,
I hate to interrupt.
In that case, keep murderers and rapists with their kids. Sorry, go ahead, Sirkan.
I'm sorry to stop it short because I know we should get through this article, but I just gotta say to the people at the Anti-Defamation League, how do you sleep at night knowing that you consider a fucking frog to be offensive? A fucking frog, of all things, you find to be the symbol of white supremacy. It's just, I just can't take anything seriously from them.
Whoa, Chandelier.
By the way, Circumciveritarian, you can interject and give a quick commentary onto the article whenever you want to. I mean, by all means, if you guys have commentaries as I am reading, you will then go ahead and interject and stop me. But anyway,
I gotta go for a little while, but I'll probably be back in a few minutes.
All right.
Okay, so and if I had to stop you, I'll just say objection.
Okay, whatever. He continued, as a Jewish American, I think that's a typo there. I think he meant to say, I am horrified by the echoes of this policy. With our own people's history, promising a bath or a shower as a ruse to separate families. Oh, okay. Yeah, that brings to light the whole shower, the Nazi showers thing.
Oh God. These people are gonna have to take a shower to get that filth that is their personality off of them.
Yes. On June 20th, Jennifer Addison, who is the co-executive director for the Center for Popular Democracy, stated, "We cannot tell the world we are a beacon of democracy and freedom, and then at home separate children under conditions that seem like the Holocaust." Okay, well then let's not enforce our laws at all. Then go ahead.
What the fuck does that have to do with democracy? Like,
yeah.
Here's the thing: is that with this woman, I'm assuming it's a woman or a cuck. Let's just call it a cuck woman.
Addison.
Jennifer Addison. Yeah, so it's a thing. We'll just call it a thing. Jennifer,
you patriarchal piece of shit, Sir Conservatarian.
I don't care, Jennifer. You realize that first off, you are free by your own volition to say this. If you weren't free, you wouldn't be able to say this, because the Nazis would, excuse me, would put you in prison for daring to speak against this if we were the Nazis. And how does democracy relate to any of this? How? Like,
yeah.
Also, I like, I'm gonna assume with a name like Jennifer, she's gonna be whiter as sour cream. It's this sort of thing that I call the white liberal privilege. Is what I call it, white liberal privilege, because you feel as though, oh, I'll speak on behalf of these minorities, but in doing so, you're making it sound as though these minorities cannot fend for themselves, and that is frankly offensive, and it's just freaking annoying.
Yeah, you're painting those minorities like babies. To me, I find that to be gross. It's like you're treating them like they're special ed kids, or they're just like these pussies who cannot fend for themselves.
It's a little bit the same way with voter ID, when people will be acting like black people cannot get their own ID to vote, you know?
Yeah, and the fact that they were trying to make it a race issue.
With the left, you can say that black people are too dumb to get a voter ID and not be called a racist.
Yeah, and here's the thing: is that these are the same sorts of people that would be okay with stripping away the children from their fathers in a courtroom.
Yep.
So don't even try and play the child card. And notice how these people, how the left will always use a child as their poster boy, as their poster child.
Think of the children.
Exactly. Back then, it used to be the other way around. Now it's them. And I think, when have you ever cared about family? The left has fought tooth and nail to dismantle the nuclear family model. Like, here's the thing: is that I may sound sexist in saying this, but I'm okay with traditional gender roles. I'm okay with women being in the kitchen. Why? Because that has worked. Now, am I saying that women shouldn't be stuck in the kitchen? No, they should be able to do whatever the hell they want.
See, I strongly disagree with your position that women should be in the kitchen. Because if she is, how the fuck is she going to clean the rest of the house?
I love you. I love that. I love that thinking. I love that thinking.
Yep. So anyway, Congressman Jerry Nadler, whatever, Democrat of New York, also spoke on the issue Wednesday during a press conference for his new bill, the Keep Families Together Act.
So fucking
cheesy.
dumb.
So very specific.
Stating, "I want to remind people when the Attorney General cites that biblical passage that you should always obey the government, besides that passage being used to support slavery, support Nazism, and other things." Yeah, and that's the reason why I go mentioning moral laws. And laws should be made based off of morality more. And I do think that it is immoral for people to be willy-nilly invading on people's countries without anyone's permission.
Yeah, what I would say to someone like this guy is saying that you should obey the government. This is one of the very few times in which I think you can correctly use the term statist.
Yes.
This is one of the very few times, because that is one problem I have with some AMCAPs. They use the term statist to one where it's vague and hard to understand. But this is clearly statism.
In response to those comments,
Like,
What?
you must obey the government. No, motherfucker. If we
Yeah.
just obey the government for the sake of obeying the government, that is a slow and painful route to totalitarianism. Now, am I
Yeah.
saying that you always need to disobey the government? No, not like like, look at me, I'm joining the military, I'm obeying the government. Good boy treats. But if I'm going to be saying, like, if the government says, "Sir Conservatarian, give us your guns," oh hell no, fam, that ain't gonna happen.
You sounded like a sassy black woman saying that.
After this article, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna work on that video a little more, but after this article.
It's cool. I mean, we are getting kind of long-winded, but hey, this is the best episode of Strike Force that I've had in a while. So,
Enjoy
just to say it forwardly. Thank you guys for joining. Anyway, in response to those comments, President of the Middle East Forum and historian Daniel Pipes said any person or policy the left disapproves of is in danger of being fascist or Nazi. Such name-calling offers a mindless way to denigrate without having to bother making an argument. President Trump signed an executive order on Wednesday afternoon ending the separation of children from their parents at the border, leaving action to the discretion of the Department of Homeland Security. Trump has said that although this is a step in the right direction, he still wants the Democrats to step forward and work with Republicans to pass an immigration bill. End of article. Okay.
And you know what? I'll admit, this is some 40 levels of chess here for Trump, because you know that in 2020 he's going to use this to his advantage, saying, "Well, I made to where my parents cannot be separated with their children." What are you going to say? That's some 40 levels of chess right there.
All right. So I have definitely two more articles that I was kind of wanting to cover. I mean, I do not know how much longer you guys are wanting to stay, but yeah. And then I was going to end it after this. Trump honors angel families who were permanently separated from their loved ones by criminal aliens. Now, this is more anecdotal, but this would still pose as an example of why that we have the border security and so on and so forth.
You know what's really funny, though? I loved that people were outraged about this, saying that Trump was using families and children to his advantage.
Yet they're doing the exact same thing.
Yeah, right. Exactly. It's like a traffic jam when you're already late.
I just think, for me, the way I think of it is like this. It's like, oh, how dare he? Oh, look at the children. Think about the children. He uses children. How dare he use the children as an argument? How dare he? I rarely like to use the thing of the children argument. I rarely like to use it because it just shows that you have no principles. It just shows that you have no better argumentation to the situation at hand outside of a moral one. Like, if you can't argue on a practical scale, then most likely than not, you have no principles and you're going to be arguing on a morality scale.
Well, I don't know. I think you might be conflating the two, because you can argue on a moral stance without having to bring in children to try and tug at people's heartstrings. Because is it immoral to murder an innocent person? Don't even have to bring in children into the conversation. And generally, yes, people say that murder is wrong.
Murder is bad. Okay.
Yeah, and this is kind of the problem I have with anarchists, like, and especially with ANCOMs, specifically ANCOMs. They'll say this: equality is more valuable than freedom. Okay, so let's just talk about it from a practicalities perspective. If you try to go for equality, you're gonna get end up having people, ironically, ending up less equal, or in the very best case scenario, equal suffering.
All right.
So on a practicality level, that's just not going to work. But let's just assume that we live in a world where equality is objectively better than freedom.
Yeah.
It still would not work because it's just impractical.
This is a fairly short article, so I'll power through it. As the media continues to criticize President Donald Trump for his handling of illegal immigrant families, Trump honored families at the White House Friday who were permanently separated from their loved ones because they were killed by illegal aliens. Okay. I do not know if I would exactly word it like that, but innocent people being murdered by criminal aliens, yeah, bad stuff. Trump said the media has ignored the stories of victims of criminal aliens. We're gathered today to hear directly from the American victims of illegal immigration. You know, you hear the other side. You never hear this side. You don't know what's going on, the president said. These are the American citizens permanently separated from their loved ones. The word permanently being the word that you have to think about. Permanently. They're not separated for a day or 2 days, like, you know, with the case of, yeah. These are permanently separated because they were killed by criminal illegal aliens, he said. These are the families the media ignores. They don't talk about them. Very unfair. Trump said the Democrats and people who are weak on immigration don't want to discuss their stories. They don't want to discuss. They don't want to hear. They don't want to see. They don't want to talk about it. No major network sent cameras to their homes or displayed the images of their incredible loved ones across the nightly news. They don't do that. They don't talk about the death and destruction caused by people that shouldn't be here. People that will continuously get into trouble and do bad things, he said. For years, their pain was met with silence. Their plight was met with indifference, but no more. I told them 3 years ago when we were together, from day one, just about day one, I would say, I said, I hear you, I see you, and I will never let you down. And we've been working together, and their loved ones have not died in vain, the president said. We call these brave Americans the angel families. Angel moms, angel pops, these are the angel families. Your loss will not have been in vain. We will secure our borders, and we will make sure that they're properly taken care of eventually. The word will get out. We've got to have a safe country. We're going to have a safe country, and your loved ones are going to be playing and will continue to play a big part in it, Trump pledged. Okay, your loss will not be, have been in vain. I mean, that almost sounds like the same line of don't let a good crisis go to waste. Or I'm like rough quoting Eric Holder right there. I mean, it just is kind of reminds me of that article, that argument by him. Okay, so we're the only two ones here now.
Yeah, to me, and again, a party wants to go full on, like, authoritarian, borderline psychopath when it comes to immigration policies. Again, minds, folks, minds. Use bombs. But to me, I can understand where you say, like, that feels a little close to that vein. Which, yeah, you could say that. But I would agree with mostly what Trump said here. That, yes, we should be strong about this. And
I think you would make a stronger case if he was to, like, bring up crime stats of how it is higher per capita with illegal immigrants commit murder, commit homicide more specifically, at a higher per capita than the rest of the citizenry of the United States, than the legal citizenry of the United States. Like, I did a video on this a while back, responding to Now This on immigration, and they made the stupid-ass claim of there is no evidence of illegals or immigrants, they were using the word immigrants, to say that they commit more crime than local citizens. Actually, zero. And I just found that absolutely laughable, because I found research saying that, like, it's like, I don't know, something like 50 per every 100,000 illegals commit homicide, whereas it is like 5 out of every 100,000 legal citizens commit homicide. I mean, even if, say, the homicide rate for legal citizens was a little bit higher than illegal immigrants, if we were to deport all the illegal immigrants, or a good chunk of them anyways, we would still be decreasing our total crime rate, particularly in the homicide rate. I mean, if you were following along with that.
And what these people don't understand is that the women that actually are seeking asylum, 80% of them are raped when they get here, are raped by someone along the way.
What, asylum seekers?
Asylum seekers, yeah. So that should tell you something about their cultures, about their what they're escaping from is like, you know. And these immigrants that are seeking asylum are bringing their worst with them, and that is why I am perfectly okay with Trump saying that they're bringing their worst. Mexico's not sending their best. They're rapists. They're drug dealers. they're criminals, and so on. I'm perfectly okay with that because there are some statistics to back up said statement.
I wouldn't be so vague and brash and wouldn't have worded it like that personally, because he says they're this, they're that. I mean, it's too ambiguous. It does almost seem like he is labeling all of them. I mean, I don't even think I recall him technically saying the actual wording illegal immigrant in that speech. He just said Mexican. Yeah, but then later on, he backpedals it to illegal immigration. No, I meant illegal immigrants. Sorry. I mean, good on him, but still, the first speech did actually come off as a little bit harsh and quite bluntly racist. I mean,
yeah, I can understand that. Like, because here's the thing: is that even I was a little at that point. It's like, oh my, is he actually racist? But then after doing some more research.
But I still kind of get his point, at least, even when first hearing the speech.
And what made me a supporter of Trump was, believe it or not, Paul Joseph Watson and Alex Jones.
Oh, God.
I know.
Those two A-substance dimwits. Jeez.
Yeah, it's...
pseudo-conservatives is what they are.
I mean, here's the thing: is that the best way for me to describe someone like Alex Jones doesn't strike me as an intellectual.
He's an entertainer.
Yes, exactly. But the thing is that at least he gets the message across. At least he gets you thinking about what's wrong with on the left and what's right about the right. At least he gets the gears turning.
Right. All right. So. The next and last article of the afternoon here is an article talking about a Gallup study, I guess is what it is. Gallup, immigration/illegal aliens, second most important problem facing U.S. All right, let's get into this. Immigration and illegal aliens are the #2 problem facing the U.S., a new Gallup poll reveals. The poll, okay, so it's not like it's saying that the study itself is saying that it's the second most pressing issue. It's saying that people that they asked, the majority of them polled that yes, immigration is the second most important issue. Thus, this would kind of explain of how it is that my immigration videos do considerably better than my normal videos. I mean, seriously. I mean, I did AJ Plus response videos on immigration, and they did pretty well for their time. In fact, my one video titled AJ Plus Wants More Illegal Immigration, it got itself like 6 to 8 likes in under a month's time, which that was pretty good for its time anyways. This was like when I was around 20 subscribers for the longest time, and it actually helped boost my ratings up, Anyway, the poll showed 14% of Americans consider immigration and illegal aliens to be the top problem facing the U.S., up 4 percentage points from May. Gallup notes that the 14% mentioning immigration is one of the highest levels Gallup has recorded in the past 12 years. The poll also shows the #1 problem facing the U.S. is dissatisfaction with government, leadership, incompetence, and dysfunction, as 19% consider this to be the most pressing problem. I think that it's the most pressing problem in almost any issue, like the government getting too involved with the economy, not getting involved enough in immigration, getting too involved in overseas operations, democracy projects and interventionism and whatnot, and just a whole litany of problems that can be boiled down to too much government intervention and meddling and whatnot. So I do not know why this percentage point is not considerably higher. Down 1 percentage point from May. Sorry?
I mean, to be fair, different people have different opinions on the government. Like, and I know, yes, some people, the idea of minarchism or conservatism, which is essentially anti-government in thought, is rising. There's a reason why you see Gen Zers and millennials becoming more and more conservative. However, I do think that there are people, like the vast majority of people are going to say, like, okay, we need the government for borders and military, maybe roads and so on. Which, here's the thing. I don't consider myself a minarchist. I don't consider myself a paleocon. Some people have tried to say, well, Sircon, you're an anarchist, aren't you? No, I'm not.
It's because you have you're right next to Dapperton and the rest of them on the T-shirts and whatnot.
I know. Which upon retrospect, I'm thinking, fuck, why did I do that? That's not very good marketing, Sircon. And anyways,
I mean that's a smaller issue. That's a very small issue. If you ask me, I mean, oh god, I have to make this correction again about how I'm not an anarcho-capitalist. Oh well, bigger issues out there. I mean, it'll get annoying, yes, granted, but still.
Yeah, I have an idea for my last video. And when last video, I mean, it will be the last video I'll make. I just don't have time to make videos anymore, folks. I'm sorry.
It'll be the last, at least for a few years, anyways.
Maybe. Anyways, continue.
Okay, Gallup asked, what do you think is the most important problem facing this country today? Open-ended. After the immigration illegal alien issue, 7% said race relations are the most important problem, followed by 4% naming gun control, the poll reveals. Gallup reports that Americans mentioned relatively few problems when asked about the top U.S. issue this month, signaling increased satisfaction with the direction of the U.S. Okay. This likely indicates respondents are having difficulty thinking of significant problems facing the country, potentially because of, potentially because of high levels of satisfaction with the direction of the U.S. Results for this Gallup poll are based on telephone interviews conducted June 1st through 13th, 2018, with a random sample of 1,520 adults aged 18 and older living in all 50 U.S. states and the District of Columbia. The margin of sampling error is plus or minus 3%. Okay, I mean, my problem with polls is that, yeah, they seem kind of dubious because they only like take a small percentage, a very small portion of what would make up even a city, much less the country. I mean, you have only like 2,000 people at most within regular polls, where there are like 320 million people in this country. I mean, I actually did a response video to Progressive Voice that was pointing at a poll to be proof, supposedly, that Republicans are the stupidest people on the planet. And it was a poll saying that supposedly like 62 or 49%, I can't remember the exact number, of Republicans think that Donald Trump won the popular vote, supposedly. And I thought, wait, it's not even 2,000 people that were sampled, and it wasn't even 1,000 people that had responded to the question saying that, yeah, it only ended up to like 300 people actually thought that Donald Trump had won the popular vote in 2016. And you are going to have like 300 people represent the entire over 50 million Republicans that voted for Trump. Get real.
I mean, again, I can understand that. Look back to my analogous with the Space Marines being the first ones to contact the alien leg. Not a good idea. You don't want them to think, oh, fuck, this is what the human race is like. We need to bomb them, or we need to give them space herpes. Whatever space herpes is like, that'd be even worse than normal herpes.
Oh, yeah. Literally growing insects out of your dick.
Oh god, that'd be horrible. Anyways, back to the subject.
Well, I don't have much more to talk about the subject, but it's not that strong of a poll, I thought, because the total amount of people that they sampled didn't even add up to 2,000. I think last I checked that's the minimum amount of people that you need to make a scientific poll. But still, it was quite interesting. And I think the fact that my immigration videos did so well, is a personal piece of evidence that really the majority of the country thinks that immigration is one of the big issues out there, at least because I'm speaking out against illegal immigration, and those videos normally do the most successfully. Recently, I did a response video to Reason TV on illegal immigration.
Yep.
They're pretty pro open borders, it seems.
Oh my god. Yeah, that is. Yeah, I think people who advocate for open borders, and this is a problem I have with some AMCAPs actually, they look at it from an idealist perspective. Like when it comes to liberalists, or well, not liberalists, leftists, they'll say, well, It's
Liberalist
good 'cause-
Sargon movement.
I'm a leftist. When it comes to leftists, they say that, oh well, we shouldn't do that. It's immoral. We separate children from their family and so on. Again, idealist. When it comes to ANCAPs, they tend to argue that well, it'll be good because of free trade, and there will be less impediments to doing so. Again, idealist. Like to me, it's hard for me to take any ideology seriously if it focuses things on an idealist perspective and not a pragmatic perspective. And when it comes to, and whenever people say, well, Sircon, can you show me proof that open borders are bad? Germany, France, the UK, Ireland, Allahu Akbar, my dude. Need I say more? I just can't bring myself to agree with open borders. That is just something I just cannot see.
The considerable higher amount of homicide, the considerable higher homicide rate amongst the illegal population of the U.S. versus the legal citizenry population of the U.S. It's another piece of evidence.
Mm-hmm.
And there's actually more economic consequences of the idea of just letting illegal immigration happen as well. I'll have to do like a case study video talking about that, because I shared an article talking about individually what it costs in welfare and so on and so forth to be letting these illegals come in, you know.
And here's the thing, is that to the ANCAPs, if they wanted to, they could say this. The government still loses if the borders are open, because now you allow these dangerous people to come in, and they still lose if they close it, because they're not allowing trade. So no matter what, you're fucked. I would rather have, and this may sound like authoritarian, but in this case, I'd rather have security over free trade. You know, not because I value security over freedom. No, far from it. It's just that I don't like to see my shit being blown up. I don't like to see people getting raped, getting killed, and so on.
All right, yeah, I keep on muting myself right now because for some reason it keeps on reverbing between. Google Hangouts has recently been reverbing between myself and the person who is actually speaking, despite me not even making a single noise. It's weird. Google Hangouts has been weird with me. Okay. Well, I am going to have fun, absolute fun, re-listening to this program of Strike Force over at work over this the course of this week. So, yeah, it's gonna be cool. Anyway, I think that's all that I have. Sir Conservatarian, you have anything else to add this program of Strike Force?
Well, first thing I would like to say is that I'm back, guys. Technically from my YouTube vacation, and secondly, this is my first time ever appearing in the Strike Force series, even though my face has been plastered alongside for a long time. So I'm sorry that it took me this long to finally make my appearance.
Well, I'm glad you could have made it. Yeah. By the way, out of curiosity, are you subscribed to my channel?
I am, yes.
Okay, cool. Actually, one quick question as well. Have you been getting notified by YouTube of my uploads, or been coming across the uploads at all?
I have been, yes, but I'm not hit the bell.
Okay. I mean, I was just curious because Mr. Dapperton was mentioning on Twitter. I saw him mentioning on Twitter one time that YouTube has been penalizing him for uploading too often, saying that YouTube will penalize you if you upload either too often or not often enough. And your videos will get less recommended to even your own subscribers.
Well, shit, that's going to hurt me a lot, then.
Yeah, so anyway, and I think I might upload just a little bit too often with my, between my live streams and my live stream highlight videos, clips, whatever. Anyway, I have to use the restroom, so that is all that I have to say. Thank you, Sir Conservatarian, for finally joining Strike Force, and I would also like to thank Humane Mind and Cult of Ham and everyone else for their 2 cents talking in the chat. I'd like to thank Loudmouth Reviews, S-Man Speaks, Incredible Aspie, all for joining as well. Wish that Conundrum would have joined, then we would have had the full podcast, but oh well. You take what you get. But anyway, that was all I have to say. Space Force, I'm not really here nor there on that, although I guess you could say I lean more towards doing it, at least getting it done before another country gets that power before us, in my personal opinion. And as far as, yeah, thank you. And as far as separating children from their parents, of course, children are going to get separated from their parents when you're processing these criminal adults, when you're criminally prosecuting them for breaking the law. Of course, you're going to have them separated from their kids for long periods of time. It only makes sense. I mean, this goes for DUIs, involuntary manslaughter, and even voluntary manslaughter, that being just straight up homicide, rapes, serious tax situations, and just a myriad of crimes that people are not complaining about parents being separated from their kids about, but apparently immigration, they're so passive about it that they're bitching about the idea. I mean, perish the thought. But anyway, I am the Dark Conservatarian. Thank you all for joining Strike Force. This is all I have to say. See you all in the next program. And also, by the way, I will be doing a Hangout stream, The Dark Cancer, a little bit later, like at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. Well, there'll be gameplay footage going on by yours truly, and we'll have a whole bunch of shooting the shit and whatnot. So, anyway, that's all I have to say. I'm the Dark Conservatarian. Thank you for joining Strike Force, and see you all later. God bless.